Oh, crikey. There we go, that's a bit better, isn't it? What do you think? Right. Let's put a note on Facebook. That's more like it. There we go. Okay. Right. Okay, here we are. A little bit early, a couple of minutes, but I think we'll get started anyway. Welcome to this week's Kendo Gamer. I can't believe we're still doing this. It's great. I'm really glad that everyone's enjoying it, and I'm really happy to be doing it. It's great fun. If you're new to this, the idea of Kendo Gamer is that I really like playing video games as well as Kendo. Kendo's awesome, but I really do like playing video games when I have spare time, which I don't have much of, but I do, and I do like playing them. And I figured that there may be many other people in the Kendo community that do as well. And I thought, what a great way to combine the two, where I could interact with everybody live whilst kicking back and messing around on my PlayStation. So here we are, and chatting Kendo at the same time. So yeah, if you're watching this live, welcome. It's great to have you. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, don't forget to do all the like, share, and all that sort of thing. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a bit of a cold, so I might be coughing my way through this a little bit. But I've got some great things to talk about today. But as you can see today, I've been playing For Honor quite a lot, which is a game I really, really love. It is really awesome. But I thought it'd be a little bit boring if I did that every week. So I'm here on my old stomping grounds of Destiny. Well, this is Destiny 2, and we're gonna play a bit of Destiny 2. Now, I haven't played Destiny 2 very much for a long, long time. So don't be hating on me for being rubbish, because I'm rubbish, and my guys are all low level and all that. But, you know, tough. That's where I am with it. All right, so which should we play? We'll play with the Titan, I think, because that's my highest level character. I've got the most guns with it. Though I'm kind of thinking I'd like to do with the Hunter, but we'll see. Maybe we'll change over instead. I think I'm going to change over. It's a little bit more agile. I think that's where we're going to go. Oops, press the wrong button there. So I've got some great things to talk about today. I've got a few great questions, from the Facebook group. I put a thing out on the Facebook group asking for topics. So I've got a couple of questions there that I'm going to talk about, and I've also where do we do it? Log out. There we go. Change character. Okay. I've also got a bit of a topic that I do want to talk about too, and I've brought my little cheat notes today, which I didn't do last time. But they are just bullet points that I'm going to kind of go through a bit at a time. And what we're talking about, if you've seen in the title already, we're going to talk about how to win Shiai. Very exciting. But it's, the idea is we're going to be looking at it in a kind of, kind of in-depth way. It's not just like Kendo's not just about winning or losing, but it's a great topic. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into it. So let's kick off some Destiny. And we can get right into the chat. Welcome everyone who's joining us. Don't forget there's a comments thing. Am I pointing the right side? Is it this side? this side? I think my camera's reversed. Use the comments thing as well, and so you can, throw questions at me, and we can interact. That'd be really great. So it'd be great to see you chatting away in the chat section. So I hope you all enjoyed last week's episode. If you watched it as well, I really enjoyed filming it. It was really great. We had a little bit of a story time where I talked about my my own journey in Kendo, sort of not quite so far, but like about up to where I went to move to Japan. We talked about things like I talked about kirikaishi, a lot about kirikaishi, and it was great. It was great fun. So what we'll talk about first is, let me just go to the Kendo Show Early Access group so I can check the comments of what people would like to ask me about today. No, that's not right. Let's take that one. Oh, I'm so bad at this game. I haven't played this game in a long time, so don't judge me, don't be hating on me. But I'll deal with the questions that we got on Facebook first. And like I say, bang them up in the comments. That's what it's there for. So, the first question that I got on Facebook, quite like this, says, if it's not a trade secret, maybe you could talk about the difficulties you had to face when starting your own business. For example, the logistical problems when you needed stuff from Japan, etc. Right. Well, that's a really interesting question. I mean, the difficulties that I faced when starting my own business were the same difficulties that I think most businesses face when they're new, and to some extent, we're still facing a lot of them now. We're not a super old business. I think we're sort of a 3-year-old business, really, 2 years established in the UK now. And yeah, there was logistical stuff. However, it wasn't too bad because I've worked in the industry. I didn't just excuse me. I didn't just jump into this out of the blue and say, I'm going to start a burger shop for no reason. I worked in the industry as a professional Kendo supplier before I ever dreamt of starting KendoStar, yeah. And I worked for some of the top companies in Japan, at the top level. You know what I mean? I wasn't just like answering the phones. I was responsible for training Japanese staff. I got to the point where I was like that, and then it was like, well, I think maybe it's time for me to branch out on my own. So I already had, I had the Japanese language ability to conduct that sort of business in Japan. And I also, I had a network of contacts, of course, which was something that I was able to do, as well as the experience, indeed, of how to run such a business, because it's a tough business to run. It's not, we're a professional organization at KendoStar. It ain't my part-time job. I'm not doing it as well as working another job. Yeah, we've got a full team here. We've got a full premises. It's, we've got stock to manage. We're a professional organization. It ain't a part-time thing. So yeah, I mean, I had the background really to set it up. And yeah, of course, there's logistical problems. Stuff like moving to the UK was a big kind of step for us, and that presented a whole slew of problems. The fact that the tax rate in the UK is much higher than it is in Japan, so that kind of threw things off kilter quite severely. So yeah, that was one thing, having to become VAT registered because we broke through the sales barrier, the minimum sales annual sales barrier, to be VAT registered really quickly. So yeah, that was all tough stuff as well. But we got through it, and it's it's not plain sailing, but it's going super well. KendoStar seems to be going from strength to strength still after 3 solid years, and people seem to love it, which is the best thing ever. So it's super rewarding as well. So thank you for that question. Okay, the next question we've got, it says, how about the pros and cons of leather tsuba versus synthetic tsuba? I have a lot of loyalty points burning a hole in my account, and I've been eyeballing the leather ones. Okay, so you're gonna have to excuse me coughing, right? Because I am getting over a cold. So yeah, first to address your loyalty points issue. If anyone doesn't know, when you shop at KendoStar, you actually receive loyalty points if you create an account when you're making a purchase, and that means I think it's is it 5% or 10% or something? Isn't it? I can't remember exactly. Don't quote me on it, but it tells you on the website, right? You get paid back in loyalty points, which are then you can trade in for discount vouchers. So that's what he's talking about there, about loyalty points burning a hole in his pocket. So back to the question itself, was the pros and cons of leather and plastic tsuba. So the most basic tsuba you get in kendo is a plastic tsuba like this. In Japan they call it the P tsuba. The P tsuba, it stands for plastic tsuba. All right, and they're nice and simple, pretty tough, pretty hard wearing. Yeah, not flashy or anything. Whoops, you can even drop them like that and they won't break. Now there's a whole array of leather tsuba that you can also get for your shinai. If you go on KendoStar, you'll see a load of different ones, woven ones and all sorts of things, and there's plain ones like this as well. This is just a plain leather tsuba. This is quite a thin one. The ones we normally sell are quite a lot thicker than this, actually. This was a sample that was sent to me, but I've not put it up because I think it's a little bit too thin. But as you can see, they look very similar, right? They look very similar. Which is probably one of the reasons why the question was there in the first place. Why would you buy one of these when it looks just like one of these? Yeah. And the reason is because that the plastic one, yeah, it's actually an imitation of that. Yeah, that's why they look similar, because this is the imitation of this. Okay. Now in terms of pros and cons, there isn't massive pros and cons involved in the tsuba. All right, the plastic tsuba, they're perfectly hard wearing, they're tough. Every now and again, very, very occasionally, they break, right? They snap in half, but they're not hard to replace, they're not expensive. The leather ones, they don't tend to break unless you get a very, very thin one. There's ones that are even thinner than this, but if you get a very thin one, then sometimes they can kind of break as well, but they tend not to. Yeah, so they are a little bit more hard wearing, but it's more, what is nice about the leather ones is with use, right? With use, they get sort of battle damage, which is kind of nice, of course, you know. So they kind of collect a little bit of character as you go along. Now there's other ones that are sort of woven, yeah, with different patterns, and they look nice. It's really an aesthetic thing, all right. So the only pros and cons are whether you like the look of them or not. All right, nothing else. There's no there's no other secrets there with that. All right. If you're happy using a basic plastic one, there's nothing to stop you. All right. If you like the look of the leather ones, especially the woven ones, knock yourself out. Go and buy one of them, and it's no problem either. All right. And you don't need to be a Hachidan to use one either. Don't let anyone tell you that. You can use whatever one you want. Yeah. I'm gonna have to keep taking a drink. Keep my throat going. I'm assuming that I haven't, as I haven't got a message in the chat saying you can't hear me and all that, you can hear what I'm saying. So I assume that's good, because the first time I did one of these streams, I messed up my whole microphone setup, and everyone in the chat could hear me, everyone watching the stream could hear me, but everybody else in the game could hear me as well, and it didn't make me a very popular voice. So I'm assuming that we're not facing any issues like that right now. So as the title of the stream says, what I really want to talk about today is, yeah, how to win Shiai. Now, as I'm talking, like I say, there's a comment section on this side. This video in the corner is reversed, so like, there we go. Is it this side? Is this where is this where the comments are? I think so, right? All fine with the sound. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, as we're going along, fire in your questions if you've got some. If there's something you're wondering about or want to know about, I'll happily either answer them as I go along, or I'll pick them up at the end. All right? Because yeah, I want this to be interactive. I think that'll be cool. So, how to win Shiai, right? Where did this conversation come from? Why did I decide to talk about this? Now, I'm not gonna, it's not as simple as you get really good at Kendo, get better at everybody, and then you win all the Shiai. It isn't like that. I mean, of course, that's the easy answer, but that isn't the idea of the discussion today, all right? This came about because yesterday I had a really good keiko in my dojo, in the dojo that I practice at in Manchester. And I went there with Joseph, who works with us. If you've seen the post on our Facebook page, Joseph's our newest team member. Oh, there's a dude with a sniper. Oh, I asked for that, didn't I? And we're on the way home, and it kind of was born of our discussion. And I was thinking about it. I thought, yeah, this would be a really nice thing for us to chat about. So, I think the place to start with this is what is the purpose of Shiai? Yeah, what's the purpose of Shiai? Is it there to give us a chance to enjoy competition? Is it there to help us beat people and prove our dominance over others? Is it there to make us feel good when we win, because we can feel like we're the best in the world because we've got medals, or is it there for other reasons? And personally, I think it can be many of those, and not all of them. Some of them are not good. He's going to shoot me. Some of them are not great reasons to do Shiai. He's gonna kill me. And yeah, for me, as somebody that understands Japanese to a certain degree, if you look at the way Shiai is written in Japanese, the kanji for Shiai, the first kanji is tamesu. Yeah, it means to test. And the second one, is means together, yeah, or to do together. Run away. And so what Shiai really is, if you look at it from that point of view, is it's a mutual test. Yeah, it's a test of your ability, test of your Kendo journey, if Kendo is doing its job on you or not. And yeah, it's there to test you, right? It's not there to make you feel good about yourself or to, like I say, prove your dominance over those weaker than you. Yeah. So that's the first thing I think you really have to understand. All right. Now, does that mean that everyone who's good at Shiai is a perfect example of a Kendoka? No, it doesn't mean that. Yeah. Of course, there's plenty of people. Nearly had him. There's plenty of people that are really good at Shiai, but still there's a few things that they're not quite getting in terms of the overall big picture of Kendo. And there are people that do it for the wrong reasons, just because they just want to beat other people and feel superior. I'm so bad at this. I did warn you before I started. What you then have to think about is when I say what is the purpose of Shiai, yeah? What is the purpose of Shiai? It's that opportunity to test yourself, yeah? Is winning or achieving victory in that Shiai the only goal, yeah? Is it the only goal? And then you can examine it a little bit further, and you can understand that, look, even if somebody's good at winning Shiai, in terms of achieving victory over many people, but they aren't benefiting from it or using it in the right way, they could still be doing Shiai incorrectly, and again, like I say, not benefiting from it properly. Oh, get him. Oh dear, that was bad, wasn't it? So the purpose of Shiai is the first thing we really have to, you know, take on board and care about. Yeah. Of course, when you're doing Shiai, you have to try and win. Yeah, you have to try and win. And you know, you can't enter Shiai with the mindset of, well, I don't care if I win or lose. Yeah, that's not the right attitude either. Like I say, it's a test. Yeah, and you're not giving yourself an accurate or true test if you don't do that. You need to do that in order to put yourself to the correct, well, under the correct level of scrutiny, shall we say, in order to test yourself. Yeah. I'm getting battered. But at the same time, it isn't something that you should sacrifice everything in order to achieve victory over another. Yeah, in order that you can enjoy your victory over another person, or feel like you're a really skilled Kendoka because you were able to beat lots of people that day. Yeah, or all the time even. So I really want that to be something that is taken away from this discussion today. First of all, is that there's a lot to be gained from Shiai, and it isn't only victory and defeat. All right, it's important, and you have to try and win, but you have to treat it as what a bad shot. You have to treat it as a true challenge, yeah, for yourself, so that you're able to make the most of the opportunities that it presents you. I nearly killed him. Okay, fair enough. So, as the title of the video or the stream is indeed how to win Shiai, I think the first thing the next thing I want to talk about, I already talked a bit about why the purpose of Shiai, but why do people lose Shiai? Right? Why do you lose Shiai? And I was thinking about this, and we were chatting about it yesterday, and I sort of came to the conclusion that there's two main reasons, really. It seems to me that people tend to lose Shiai. Yeah, I'm gonna die here if I'm not careful. Two main reasons. All right. I've got to kill that guy. The first is that you're outclassed by your opponent. Okay, your opponent is simply of a higher level than you, and their ability outclassed yours. Yeah, that's one obvious reason. Okay, that isn't to say that it's impossible to beat somebody that's more skilled than you are, or would normally outclass you. It doesn't make them invincible, of course, right? And it also doesn't mean necessarily that when you beat such a person, it's just because you were lucky. Yeah, you can do so out of skill as well. But at the same time, the fact is some of us are more or less skilled than others. Okay, there are people who who I could do Shiai with, who would completely outclass me, and I've done Shiai with such people. Okay, and there's people who I could also do Shiai with that I would be on the opposite side of the spectrum. So that's excuse me. That's certainly one obvious reason as to why people lose Shiai. So what's the other one? I said there was two. The other one is because I guess one way to word it is because you make a mistake or an error of judgment. Okay, or you you make a mistake. All right. Either by a mistake in a specific moment that leads to you losing a point, or you make a mistake with your strategy, you play the entire Shiai in the wrong frame of mind, stuff like that. Now, of course, look, sometimes there's other external factors. Yeah, maybe you're sick, you don't feel good, you have something else on your mind. But I think that kind of falls into the other categories of either you could argue that it was, you know, if you weren't able to concentrate, that's kind of a mistake. Despite the reason, it could be something completely out of your hands. But you know, if we're responsible and we accept that, and this certainly happened to me, then it's, you know, it's on us. It's not on someone else. Or, you know, maybe it's sickness, something like that. Well, in that specific instance, then you're not performing to your usual ability, and therefore you could be outclassed by someone who normally you wouldn't be if you were performing to your full and usual ability. Yeah. But they're sort of outline reasons anyway. What I'm really talking about is the two main reasons. So look, when you're outclassed, right? Like I say, it doesn't mean you can never beat someone like that. There's lots of times when people who are outclassed overcome and are able to achieve victory over people who are much higher skill than they are. There's many examples, many. And that's an important victory in itself, yeah? But I think the most interesting topic of conversation is more about the other way of defeat, which is when you make a mistake or it's through something that you've done. Because if you take the example of something like the All Japan Championships, yeah, the All Japan Championships, the top level Shiai in the world, nobody in that tournament is outclassed by their opponent, yeah, in general, yeah. They're all pretty much the same level. They're all super, super good, right? That's why they're at that level of tournament. And they achieve victory over each other by, generally, by forcing their opponent into making some kind of mistake, right? And I'm using the word mistake in a very, very loose fashion here, okay? So, what can we do to help us win our Shiai? And I think the first thing we have to accept, after we've accepted, it's the second thing maybe, after we've accepted that the purpose of Shiai isn't just to achieve victory so we can enjoy the feeling of victory, or we can, you know, laud our superior skills over our inferiors. Having said that, that's not to say it's bad for you to enjoy the feeling of victory. It's not bad at all, but that shouldn't be your only reason for participating. But what you have to accept is that nobody wins every Shiai. Okay, nobody wins every Shiai. Now look, I'll tell you right now, right? I had quite a long competitive career. I had some success and I had a lot of failure. Yeah, I had a lot more failure than success. I certainly wasn't one of the, you know, I didn't have, let's say I didn't have as a successful Shiai career as I would have liked to have had. And I, you know, I don't really consider myself as somebody that had a particularly successful Shiai career. But, you know, it was all right. It was all right. Could have been worse. Could have been a lot better. But nobody wins them all, right? And one of the things that I really struggled with when I was competing a lot was the fear of defeat. And it really stopped me from performing my own Shiai. Yeah, it controlled me through a lot of the matches I had. Made me feel afraid if I was to lose the Shiai. If I was lose the Shiai, then people would think bad of me. It would mean that I'm not as good as I thought I was. It would mean that people would, you know, silly things. People would like leave nasty comments on my YouTube channel. People wouldn't buy the equipment from me or stuff like that. Yeah, and you know. it wasn't until much later when I came to the realization that, well, look, nobody wins all the Shiai yet. Nobody wins them all. And further, when you watch the All Japan Championships, right? Does anybody think that the guys that get knocked out in the first round are like weak and rubbish? No, right? Nobody thinks that, yeah? Because just losing a Shiai doesn't mean that your whole Kendo is trash, yeah? It doesn't mean that. And I think that's one thing that's really, really important, because I think a lot of people are reluctant to join in Shiai because they don't want to lose. You know, they don't want to maybe even have to travel a long way and participate only to be beaten, especially if they're in a situation where they feel like they've been outclassed by their opponent. They've happened to hit someone in the first round that was much higher downgrade than they are, much more experienced, and they feel embarrassed, humiliated, ashamed, any of those sort of things. They didn't feel that they were given a fair chance even. And it's an understandable feeling, right? Oh, come on. Can't kill these guys. I'm doing super bad, eh? But, you know, look, nobody wins them all, right? So whatever level you're competing at, right, you can't start from the point of view of, like, I have to win every Shiai I ever participate in. You have to try and win them all. And this is where it becomes a little bit paradoxical, because you do have to do your best to try and win each match. You really do. But you can't begin from a point of a position of, if I don't win, it means I'm no good. Yeah, because you'll not be able to express your Kendo properly. Okay. And as we were talking about this yesterday, we moved on to Joseph asked me. He said, "Well, what about, you know? It seems like often the really successful Shiai players, they kind of have this, they kind of have an arrogance about them. You know, like a cockiness or an arrogance." Do you think that's something that's important in a winner? You know, a lot of successful Shiai players, they seem to have this kind of arrogant demeanor. And do you think that's what that's something that kind of helps them achieve the victories in the Shiai? Because if you watch their matches particularly, often they're very aggressive or very ferocious. Okay, there's a ferocity in their Kendo. Okay, and you know, certainly if you watch the best Shiai players in the world, okay, if you watch some of the Japanese national team or the Japanese All Japan Championships, yeah, you know, you watch some of those guys and they're ferocious when they're playing. Yeah, they're ferocious. There's a real ferocity. I think that's an accurate word to describe it. But does that ferocity, does it come from a place of arrogance? That's the question. Yeah? Does it come from a place of arrogance? Or is it something else? Come on. Oh. Or is it something else? Is it confidence? Yeah, I think there's confidence. I think it comes from a place of having. I'm going to get beaten up here. I think it comes from a place of having overcome your fear, right? I know that's a very kind of airy thing to say, I guess, but I really think it is. It comes from a place of having overcome your fear, right? They have no. They've been able to put themselves into a state where they are not afraid of losing, being struck. They're just focusing on making their attacks in their, in the way they want to do it. All right, and by doing so, they're able to attack with full semi, with full passion, and almost lay themselves bare in a way for you know, which is where that kind of ferocity is born. You know, it's nothing, just give everything up and just throw everything. You know, that isn't to say there aren't successful Shiai players that are arrogant. There certainly are. Yeah, but I don't think that arrogance is necessarily what makes them, or is necessary for them to be successful. Some people they hide behind their insecurity with arrogance, yeah, and that helps them overcome their insecurity, which helps them do better in Shiai. There are people like that, yeah, there are, yeah, but I don't think that the arrogance, as it were, is the necessary ingredient to a successful Shiai career. Okay, that's something I certainly believe anyway. So how do we get to that? You know, how do we get to that? And you know, to look at it a little bit deeper, when I say overcoming the fear, right, it's not just overcoming the fear, really, right? And this is where I really think some of the deeper concepts of Kendo are actually really relevant to Shiai, right? So talked about how it's a test of yourself, yeah, and how we're talking about overcoming the fear. But if you watch some of the top level All Japan Ippon, what you're looking at is one side that scores a point has overcome their own deficiencies, right, which we'll look at in a minute, and perhaps at the same time has created some kind of opportunity by instilling one of those into their opponent. Now, I want to talk about the concept of Shikai, right? The 4 sicknesses of Kendo. Yeah, you might have heard of it, and it's super relevant, not just to Shiai, but it is relevant to Shiai. Yeah, the 4 sicknesses of Kendo. You know, they are they're not just something that you write about for your Dan exam. You know what I mean? They're not just something you write about to pass your grading. It's real stuff. The 4 sicknesses. The first one, surprise. Fear is the second one. Doubt and confusion. Right? And I think I think fear is the really important one. But I think the others are super relevant as well. And I think that's what the real victory in Shiai is the player that's able to overcome these, is able to make the purest attacks, yeah, the purest Kendo. And that's why that ferocity appears, yeah. It's not arrogance, it's purity, right? That's my take on it anyway. Whilst at the same time they're instilling these sicknesses in their opponents. I know it's super deep stuff, right? You know, it is, right? But it's, you know, this stuff doesn't exist for the good of people's health, yeah. It exists because it's true and it works, yeah. The problem is that not a lot of it's taught, and not a lot of it is explained. So, look, Shikai, right? The 4 sicknesses. Surprise, yeah. All of us have been in that situation where we've had a competitive situation, whether it's been Ippon Shobu, Shiai, whatever, where our opponent hasn't acted in the way we expected, and it's thrown us off. Oh, I didn't expect that to happen, and it's disturbed our ability to perform in the way that we want to, yeah, or to control our own Kendo. There's lots of ways that this happens, but it happens a lot in Shiai because tensions are high and people are emotional and worried. They don't want to lose, and it's connected to fear. Yeah, you're scared, don't want to lose, don't want to look bad, don't want to feel like you're not very good at Kendo. So you're on edge, and then something doesn't go the way you want. Oh, that didn't happen how I wanted it to. Oh, like this, and you try to block something out all of a sudden, and actually you're overcome.
Good work,
and that's the second one, isn't it? Fear. That is the second one, and that's where that connects to the first one. I think fear is the one that kind of pins them all together. Because the third one is doubt, and what that is when, for example, you're facing off against your opponent, and makes them okay, right? I'm gonna try and make good ojuaza. I think this guy's quite keen. Oh, I can't even use that. I think this guy's quite keen to attack my kote. So I think I'm going to try. I'm going to try and do the aigote men. Okay, I'm going to try and do aigote men. Okay, so you step in, right? Come on for my kote. Come on. Oh, actually, maybe I was wrong about that. Oh, I don't want to lose this. And I think maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's going to come for men instead. And that's doubt. Okay, in this context. Yeah, you see how it's connected to fear, right? Maybe I was wrong, and then, oh yeah, I was. Surprise, hits you as well, yeah? They're all super, super connected. And then the last one's confusion, yeah? Confusion, and that happens when, I don't know if you've ever done Kendo with like somebody that's really good at semi, but also good at feints. Then that you'll probably have experience of this, but you know, again, it's born from that fear, right? You're scared, you don't want to get hit, okay? And I don't feel like this is how, you know, I thought this is how it's going to happen, and now it's not. I think he's going to hit my man, and I'm not sure, and now, oh, he surprised me, and now he surprised me again, and now I don't know where he's going to hit me, yeah? That's the last one, confusion. And all of these obviously tying together, and they're what underpin the balance, right? And if you imagine that cluster of the 4 sicknesses, right? The idea is that it's like how can I describe it in a good way that doesn't sound stupid? I was going to say like a hot potato, right? But it's a bit weird to say that, isn't it? But like if you imagine like a ball that you don't want to hold and you're going to throw it at your opponent, right? The idea is that you want them to hold it, right? It's something you don't want to get hold of. And sometimes both sides have got it and not much happens, yeah? And there's this kind of dull Shiai that's kind of boring because both of them are too scared and too worried about what's going to happen for anything decent to come out of it. But really, the really strong players, what they're trying to do is they're trying to throw these balls of the kind of surprise, fear, doubt, confusion, whilst trying to not dodge them but remain immune to them. Yeah, it's funny. There used to be a game called International Karate. I used to play on the Amiga, and you started off. It's like 2D side-scrolling thing. I'm sure some of you have played it, right? And you used to you had a joystick, right, like this, and you started off as a dude in a white karate gi with a white belt, and there was 3 of you on the screen, and you punch like this, and you could. You could kick and stuff, and as you kept fighting, you got different coloured belts and what have you. And every now and again, there was like a sub stage where you'd do one was a kick bombs, these bombs that appear on the bottom of the screen, and you'd have to go over and do a sliding kick on them. And then the other one was like this one where you had a metal shield, and bouncing balls would come from the side of the screen. You'd turn, and you'd have to block them, and you'd have to block them, and you'd have to block them. And it's a little bit like that, right? These sort of things are coming in at you, yeah? These things are coming at you. Fear, I'm scared of this guy, I don't want to lose, I'm scared of looking like an idiot, and that was a bit of a shock, and that didn't go how I wanted, yeah? And you've got to kind of deflect them and keep your cool whilst you're still, doing it. You like that? That's my little video game Kendo analogy there. Yeah. Anyway. Oh dear, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but anyway, that's kind of one way I just thought of off the top of my head. But look, right, here's where we're kind of getting to, right? The real goal of this, yeah, the purpose of Shiai is, going back to the beginning, is that test, right? And it's a test to see if you can overcome the Shiai. It's can you overcome your fear? Can you overcome surprise? Can you overcome your doubts, your hesitations? And can you overcome those moments of confusion, right? That's the goal. It's not, I don't want to, it's not, I want to do Shiai so that I can look good in front of everyone. It's there to give you an opportunity, right? A real opportunity which you don't get anywhere else. You don't get anywhere else, right? You don't get that in Jigeko. You don't get it in Shodan Shinsa, in the grading. You don't get it, right? In a Jigeko, yeah, you might have the you might have the different opponents, and you might be serious in your Jigeko, fine, but it doesn't have an instant consequence that Shiai does, and that element of pressure is super, super important for the test to be accurate. Okay. So that's the real purpose, and that, honestly, I really think that's the key to victory. I think that's the key. I think that's how you win Shiai, is that the people that win are the people that overcome those in those moments of adversity, which the Shiai prevents. Yeah. The times when you're the most scared, those that overcome that fear, the times when the opponent's trying to surprise you or trying to confuse you, the ones that keep calm and remain composed and don't lose their composure because of that. And if I think back over some of my favourite Shiai that I've seen, All Japan level Shiai that I've seen, it's almost always that situation. It's almost always that situation. So, just gonna have another drink. Just keep running my voice up. I'm not advertising this stuff, by the way. It's just what was available at the time. So I think where I want to move to next is, as the whole title of this is how to win in Shiai, right? And this is where you're gonna kind of accuse me of clickbaiting, I guess. But I think we need to look at what does winning mean? What is victory in Shiai? What is it? Is it when the Shimpan holds up your flag for the second time and says Shobari and declares you the winner? Yeah, that's winning. That's victory. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Right, and I'm not taking anything away from that. Right, because that in itself is important, and it's what it's it's an important part of it, and it's an important achievement to have done that. But what really is the victory, in my opinion, is when you are presented with these difficult situations, these four sicknesses, and you overcome them. I think that's the real victory. And sometimes, and this is going to sound weird, but sometimes, you can overcome them and still lose because you are outclassed by the other person. It doesn't mean that that's okay then. It's okay. It's not that's okay. You still have to try and win even in that case. But it's going in the right direction, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's it's all right. I think it's better. I think it's better to lose the Shiai where you've overcome your fear overcome your doubt, and you've made the full attack with Temi, even though the other person was much higher level than you and actually controlled you and set that up in you and made that happen so they could do the Banawaza or Ojiwaza, I'd much rather that happen than you lose the Shiai because you were scared and you tried to block and then you got hit, or you panicked and you just hit with no intention and you received the Banawaza or Ojiwaza. It's a different outcome, yeah. And I think that's the real victory, you know. If you can, I don't always, you know, there's been plenty of Shiai that I've won, I've achieved victory, you know, I've been announced as the winner, but I wasn't happy with, you know. I didn't feel, it felt like a hollow victory because I didn't really achieve a victory over myself, who is the true opponent, the true I just wasted that. I don't know how to use this superpower on this guy. You know, I haven't been able to achieve mastery over those 4 sicknesses in myself. I was just lucky, or I was just faster, or sometimes I was awarded points that I didn't deserve. You know, that happens all the time too. So, you know, I think what you really have to aim for is trying to achieve mastery over that. And I think that's what you have to consider as the true victory in Shiai, because that's really what's going to help you along the road of Kendo, you know. I really do. I mean, you know, we're lucky in some respects. It's worth remembering that we have the opportunity of Shiai to present, you know, itself to us, so that we can test ourselves in this situation. We can put ourselves under that pressure, and we can attempt to challenge these 4 sicknesses. You know, I really think that's it. And you know, it's not beating the opponent. It's beating yourself. You know, you've got to achieve victory over yourself. That's the real victory. Yeah, that's the real victory. You know, of course, winning, even coming first place, it's great. It feels great. It does. But it's soon forgotten. And it doesn't. You know, it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that you're better as a person, or even better as a kendoka than everyone else. It just means that you were able to achieve that more so than the others on that day. And finally, there's a question there. It says, if you have time left, can you touch on the other side of the topic, what to look for as a shimpan? Yeah, I'll touch on that right at the end, because I've only got one more little point I want to talk about, and then I'll wrap up with your question. All right. The last thing I want to talk about is Shiai necessary, right? Is Shiai necessary? Can you still benefit from Kendo to its fullest capability without participating in Shiai at all? And I honestly believe the answer to that's no. I think Shiai and gradings are extremely necessary in order to properly progress in Kendo. The point of them of both Shiai and grading is very, very similar. Very similar. Now, it doesn't mean that lots of people haven't missed the point and don't do it wrong, right? That's certainly true. There's loads of people that get it wrong. Yeah, and there's loads of people that are doing both Shiai and gradings for the wrong reasons. Some people are doing Shiai so they can win over other people and then, you know, kind of strut about the place like they're better than they are. Yeah, there's people that take gradings for the same reason, right? And the grading system, the Shiai system, is not perfect. Yeah, it can't filter those people out. Yeah, because it needs to work the way it does in order to function the function that it gives. But it is necessary because you do need to be put in those situations where you are, look at that, 4 kills. I told you I was bad at this. Out of practice, that's it. You need to be put in that situation where you are challenging yourself, yeah, and challenging those 4 sicknesses, where you're in that situation. I don't want to lose. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to be humiliated. I don't want to fail this grading. I don't want to lose the Shiai. You have to face it down, right? And you might end up with the result you were fearing the most. And then you have to take that and you have to overcome it and you have to push on, improve from it and grow. And that's what Kendo is for. Yeah, that's what Kendo is for. Because when you do that, it doesn't just help you do that in Kendo, it helps you do that everywhere else too. Yeah. So yes, I think Shiai really is necessary, right? Winning Shiai, you don't have to win every Shiai you do. And even if you lose every one you do, if you're doing your hardest to overcome those things, and even if you're not managing it, I think you're on the right path more than somebody that's saying, well, I don't do Shiai because I don't think that Kendo's about sports. Because Shiai is not sports. Shiai is not sport. It's one of the most extreme tests you can put yourself through if you do it properly. Okay? That doesn't mean there aren't people that don't treat it that way. They do. Some people do. But my belief is that. And that's it. That's it for today on that. Okay? So, before I finish, I'm going to take this question. It says, if you have time left, I'll read it again. It says, can you touch on the other side of the topic, what to look for as a shimpan? Yeah. It's super easy. It's not. It's easy to explain. Really difficult to do. Why is it easy to explain? Because the main thing you're looking for is shimpan is yuko datotsu. Okay, you're looking for yuko datotsu. Shimpan's job is to award yuko datotsu. That's it. All right. It's not to get themselves involved in the Shiai overly. It's not to decide who the winner will be. The shimpan doesn't decide who the winner will be. The Shiai decides that. Yeah. In fact, the Shiai Sha, the players decide that mutually, right? By achieving or failing to achieve yuko datotsu. Essentially, the shimpan administrate it. But what you're looking to do is you're looking for good datotsu, good strikes that are made in good opportunities. Generally, they must meet the criteria of yuko datotsu, but if we count, the way I like to think of it is if we count the criteria of yuko datotsu perfect as being 100 points or 100%, I would look for at least 75% or more for it to be awarded ippon in Shiai. And there are some times that other areas can overscore points to make up for lack of points in other areas. Okay, so sometimes perhaps they can't quite make the strike with the datotsubu of the Shinai because of the distance, but because it was such a fantastic, amazing opportunity, you can let it slide a little bit. Yeah, it kind of makes up for what it lacks in that area for something else. You can't be, it's not something that should be super hard set in stone, where it's like, right, well, if it's not hit with that specific part of the Shinai, it's not ippon. It doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work like that. It's I'm getting killed. That isn't, if we go down that route, then we push it into the direction of it being sports. Yeah, that isn't what it's for. And otherwise, the shimpan is looking to find particularly points that are executed at good opportunities, and obviously ensure that the match is conducted fairly and that both players are acting in good spirit. And when I say good spirit, I don't mean like loud voices and stuff. I mean in that they're acting with good intentions towards their opponent. They're not just trying to cheat or to you know, do the stuff that's not cool. Because at the end of the day, Shiai exists in order to allow us to improve our Kendo, not allow us to simply achieve victory over each other. Yeah, that's not the idea, as I've mentioned. All right, and the Shimpan are also part of that, and they have to make sure that that is what's happening too. Okay, so if somebody's doing something that's unfair, then that has to be controlled. But yeah, otherwise, I think in my experience, what I find Shimpan struggle with is, I'd say the Shimpan have to, I think they struggle, yeah, with the criteria of Yuko Datotsu the most. It comes from a couple of things. One is the overzealous application of the specific rules for Yuko Datotsu. Like I say, for example, the exact Datotsuguri. Sometimes, you know, there's a concept called Gen Myo na Waza, which is Waza that's particularly difficult or tricky to perform. Sometimes that, you know, you have to be flexible. Okay, a good example is doichi men nuki do. Yeah, extremely difficult waza to perform under high pressure in a competitive Shiai situation. Right, it's not the sort of waza. Men nuki do is not the sort of waza you like whip out on a reflex. Yeah, it's not like, whoa, I just managed to do that. Yeah, you have to set it up, and it has to. You know, it's a lot of work to do in a high pressure scenario, right? And that means that if I'm gonna get him, there we go. That means that if the place you actually strike on the door, especially in a really dynamic pair of Shiaisha, you know, if they don't hit perfectly on the side, but it's a little bit on the front, and like a Shimpan's like not gonna give that because of that, they're kind of not quite getting it. Yeah, it's not how it's supposed to be. Yeah, you've got to kind of look at the whole picture. Yeah, and the other thing that Shimpan have to do, they have to practice. They have to both practice doing Kendo. You can't be a good Shimpan if you never do Kendo. Right? Like, if you know, oh, I used to do Kendo, but I gave up. But I'll just do some Shimpan instead. Like, it's really obvious when somebody's like that and they just can't spot Yuko Datotsu. They just can't spot it. They can't judge the opportunity properly. Secondly is they have to practice doing Shimpan too. You have to do as much Shimpan as you can. And this is another thing I found actually that kind of ticks me off a bit, is people's reluctance to do Shimpan. Shimpan is part of Kendo. You know, doing Shimpan is part of Kendo practice. You know, you can't just pick and choose the bits you want to do and you don't want to do. That's not really, especially something like Shimpan that like the community as a whole requires you know, cooperation on, you know, so it's pretty selfish not to do it, especially if you do Shiai and then you expect other people to do it for you. But you definitely, you know, and I'd say from at least, like, I've been to a lot of places where they're like, yeah, okay, from Sandan used to do Shimpan. Like, I think people should start doing Shimpan from Shodan. Like, practicing, you know, even if it's just in the dojo, they should be learning about it from Shodan. And just, you know, getting the experience so that they can learn to judge the Shiai properly. So, yeah, I hope that sort of answers your question. I think that's the, you know, that's my sort of thoughts on it. After that, finally, what I also would say that Shimpan have to do is they have to take the job seriously, right? You have to take the job of Shimpan seriously. And another pet peeve of mine is that if you have fourth dan or more, and you don't own the Shimpan fuku, that means the clothes for Shimpan, you know, the jacket, the trousers, the tie, the shirt, yeah, then you don't own all of the Kendo equipment that you require for Kendo at your level. It is part of the Kendo equipment, yeah, and I don't even sell it, yeah, so it's not a sales pitch, yeah. Well, maybe I should, no. I don't even sell it, right, so it's not a sales pitch, yeah, but you know, it kind of I find it a bit annoying when I go to a Shiai and there's guys there that have like fourth dan or something, and they've come just to do Shimpan, and they don't even have a suit. And it's like, would you turn up without your Kendogi? Because it's like the same thing. But yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine. I better not get too into that. Yeah, I mean, everyone has to do it. It's super important. You know, in Japan, right, kids start doing Shimpan when they're probably chugakusei, so junior high school, isn't it? Yeah, that's when they start doing Shimpan. So that's what, like 13 years old, Shodan level. And they're only doing it for each other. And yeah, they've got much more opportunity to practice, much more opportunity to do the practice Shiai with each other, Shimpan with each other. Yeah, but that isn't an excuse. That's like, okay, we have to make up for that, right? Yeah, and and going back to actually another thing about in Japan, like I remember, you know, the first time I was asked to Shimpan at a Shiai, like they were like, I think, you know, they were like, you do have. You know, you didn't have, you don't have a suit. You better go and buy one, like sort of thing. Because I hadn't brought one to Japan with me. Like, comment. Oh, seriously, you didn't know the suit was something you had to have at fourth dan. Learn something down. No, it's not something you have to have at fourth dan, right? I've explained that poorly, right? What I'm saying is that if you are into Kendo as far as having got fourth dan, and you don't own one, then you don't have all the equipment, yeah? Doesn't mean you have to be fourth dan to have it, yeah? That's not what I mean. If you go to a Shiai and you're doing Shimpan, I don't care if you're second dan or first dan, and you're just doing Shimpan, right? You're just doing Shimpan, then you should have a suit, the Shimpan fuku. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing it in your dogi and hakama. If you're doing Shiai as well that day, then fine. I think that's you know, you shouldn't have to change all the time. But if you're turning up there just to do Shimpan, I hit my own dude, just to do Shimpan, then you should come with the right equipment. You know, it's kind of like I say, turning up to Keiko without your Keikogi, or like turning up to a Shiai without any Shinai and just bringing a Bokuto or something. Like, you know, it's the wrong equipment. Yeah, it's Kendo equipment, it's the wrong equipment. That's what I mean by it, you know? Look, not everyone thinks the same as me on that, right? I admit I'm a bit extreme on that. It's just a pet peeve of mine, because when I was doing Shimpan in Japan, it was hammered onto me, you know, when I first was there, and I was like, oh, can I just wear my dogi and hakama? They were like, what are you talking about? No, you can't, right? So yeah, that's that. Okay, so now I've had my rant about Shimpan fuku, and we've talked about how to win Shiai, at least what winning Shiai is. I think that's enough for today. I think that's where we're going to end it, all right? Apologies for the voice as well. I am just getting over a cold. I've said that. I've been coughing and spluttering throughout the thing. I hope you enjoyed the stream today. It was a little bit in depth. It was quite, what do you say, a bit esoterical. But you know, I really think it's important. I do really think the stuff that I'm talking about. Well, yeah, let me know in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Leave a comment down below, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. what's the other stuff? Follow me on Twitch. Do all the like, share, subscribe stuff. Don't forget as well, tomorrow I'll be doing Kendo Rant. You can get in the Kendo Show Early Access group on Facebook. It's free to join. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link in the description. Join the group. That's where you post questions for me to talk about in Kendo Rant. Friday I'll do another analysis video. If there's something you want me to analyse on that, fire the link across. Let's see if it's worth looking at. I'll look at it. And yeah, if you like what I do, shop at KendoStar, because that's what means that I can keep doing it. Yeah, so yeah, that's that. Thanks a lot for watching, folks, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.